Hey, how you doing? Daniel Ruiz Tizon is available for Monday, the 17th of August 2020 with me, Daniel Ruiz Tizon, episode 260, take 3. Bit my tongue on take 2, take 1. I thought I can improve on take 1, take 2. Bit my tongue, poor start. Take 3, here we go. Hope you're all well. Keeping on doing what you need to be doing to keep yourself going. Hope, unlike today's show, that your week hasn't got off to a full start. The South London heat wave is over for now, thankfully. Back to just one shower a day now rather than the 3 I was having for most of last week. I'm recording this in what now looks like a sky blue vest. First time in years that I've done a wash incorrectly. I'm not sure that I did it incorrectly. I think I had the settings right. I just don't know what's happened. I've managed to shrink one long-sleeved indoor-only top. The sleeves come up short, making me look simple. Not worn something as short as that since 2011. Even indoors wearing that, it's bothering me. You can feel the sleeves not reaching your hands. It's quite annoying. As for the vest, it's possible the sky blue hue has come from this sky and dark blue combination, now shrunken top. So a bit of a double whammy. I've only got a 6-strong squad of vests. I certainly need to beef up their number later this year, whenever it might be safe to return to Primark. No big deal for now. It's just the kind of small stuff I normally sweat. Just on the 3 showers a week thing last week, I was taking a shower around about 2,200 hours. That was the last shower of the day, and I've got a frosted bathroom window, and I just don't trust those. I've said it plenty of times. I don't trust a frosted bathroom window. You can still make out the silhouette of whoever's in there if you're looking through the frosted bathroom window, even from the street. I know because I've done it, and it made me question whether people could see me through the frosted bathroom window in the same way that I was able to see them. And so now what I do if I'm showering late at night, I'll just I switch on a light in the hallway. I've got 2 lights on in the hallway. I switch on the far one, which just lights the back end of the hallway, and I open the bathroom door, leave it open, but don't switch the light on in the bathroom. You've got to think about these things. You know, if you trust the frosted bathroom window, that trust is greatly misplaced. It's been an admin-heavy morning. It's coming up to 1,100 hours. I was hoping that I could actually start recording by around 09:30, and just got sucked in, slowed down by a lot of admin. Mondays are full on, ridiculously full on for me. That's my own fault. And it's going to be like that for the foreseeable. So the key is to get an early record. I had some paperwork to sort out, some council tax stuff, had to send some documents which had to be redacted. I took about 30 minutes to actually find a black marker, and then really I was able to see that no matter what I was redacting with this black marker, as dark as it was, you could still make out plenty of what had been redacted. So I would use the marker in one direction, then another direction, and then I'd turn the page over and do the same thing on the back of it, just recoloring the shaded bits that were coming through the backside of those various pages. That's all done. That paperwork needs to be posted out. There are issues with the podcast platform provider again, and issues with the FTP, which is supposed to be the thing that gets me out of any trouble if I can't upload the show via the normal way, and FTP hasn't been working for some time now. So again, it just illustrates that this is a problem that's never going away, and that I don't really have control over my own show. You know, the easy solution, well, I say easy, the solution is to start running the show through my own website. I've got all the details of how to transfer a podcast through to Squarespace without losing any reviews. I've still not done it. You know, it's just I spent so long on this machine. The eyes are battered. I'm not going to go for an eye test right now until, you know, the whole pandemic thing calms down. I do like to switch off at the weekends, but these are problems, ongoing problems that aren't going away for my work. And Mondays, I'm slightly anxious now, most Mondays, because of the platform provider issues. It's not a good situation to be in, having to rely on the platform working. I've got no control over that. I think my anxiety today may largely be down, well, the greater anxiety today. Mondays are the day. If I'm feeling anxious right now, it's usually the Monday. And I think today the anxiety might be greater than it normally is on a Monday because I've got a plumber coming tomorrow to go up into the loft before more work is signed off on the roof. They want to determine that the leak is not coming via the loft. They've been up there, well, I say twice before. They came the second time because the first plumber to come along didn't actually go into the loft. So this problem has been going on for a long time. So this guy's coming tomorrow. I've got a ladder that I've put at the back of the flat. It's a very heavy ladder. It's a complicated ladder, so complicated that I rarely use it now that I'm on my own in this flat. I don't really want to risk going up it. It's a very tall ladder, but it's just a very complicated contraption. It looks like half wood and half Meccano. Once I go beyond the standard step ladder, I'm in trouble. So tonight or probably tomorrow morning, I'll be up early because they come in early. They come in around 8, I think. I'm going to lay some dust sheets down, not all over the flat, hoping to keep him out of the front room, the kitchen. He doesn't need to come into the front of the flat, so it's just the back of the flat that I need to cover. I could lay down a dust sheet in the bedroom, but because of the bed there, I have to lay down 2. And unless he wants to be able to see the roof, the flat, well, it's not a flat roof, unless he wants to be able to see the roof to the back of the flat from the bedroom window, which I don't see why he should really, because he's a plumber, he's not a builder, so he's just coming to confirm that the leak isn't coming from the water tank in the loft. So I think I can get away with just closing the bedroom door. So essentially just putting dust sheets down in half the flat. The problem with that, of course, is afterwards I have to hoover everything, and I never know which side of the dust sheets have basically, because of the way the dust sheets are and they're very difficult to fold, you can never be absolutely certain that the surface that you're putting face down on the carpet is the same side of the dust sheet that went face down the last time you laid those dust sheets. So, the contamination is rife, which is why everything has to be hoovered right away afterwards. And once this guy's gone, I can just hopefully calm down a bit. But the admin related to this, the back and forth with the housing people, and then I'm going to have to get into a back and forth with the downstairs neighbour, and access has to be through their property, but also the halfway house next door. So it's just, there is a lot of admin related to this specific job that is going to cause me some difficulties because there's no barrier now. It is me and the neighbours, and I'm going to have to deal with this. Now, another complication is that this plumber coming tomorrow, I've been given his name, he goes by the diminutive of his name. I'm not surprised he's going by the diminutive in a way because he's got a very old-fashioned name, but the diminutive always strikes me as over familiar. I think it's something that old friends and family, by all means, they would use. But in a professional setup, I think you really need to go by your proper name. I'm just always very uncomfortable going with a diminutive or people calling me by the diminutive if they don't know me well. And it's just not very, I just don't think it's very professional. I don't think people take you as seriously as they should if you're still going by your childhood name. In terms of other stuff that needs to be addressed in the flat, I've got a post-it note up on the wall to my left, immediately to my left, and this morning I've added the cold water tap in the kitchen to the list of things that need to be resolved. I think I probably totaled it myself, that cold water tap, just been tightening it too much over the last year or so because of the really annoying drip. In recent months, I've just accepted the drips, so I've not been tightening it as tightly as I used to, but I think the damage has been done. It's just right now, it's how do you get workmen in right now to fix anything during this period. Never mind paying for them, that's a separate issue. So there are a list of issues that need to be resolved in the flat that can't be done no matter how many YouTube videos I watch. That's the starting point for me now with anything that needs repairing is this something that I can do myself? Sometimes it is, other times it isn't. I need to tackle the freezer. It's really hard to open those drawers. There's so much ice in there. Again, just something else that I haven't got around to dealing with. I spent the weekend putting up with so many sirens, and maybe it's because I'm on my own in the flat these days. I don't think I used to notice it that much in the past, and I think perhaps like my doctor said that now in this situation, particularly with this situation, because of the way that I tend to think maybe these things are accentuated, there's definitely a problem with sirens. Now, I think you can hear that on the show consistently, sirens interrupting the show. And I'm thinking, why are there so many sirens? Okay, I'm on a main road, but it's just what has baffled me is they seem to start right outside the building. I'm not imagining that. And I've been wondering why this might be, because it's so infuriating. And I think it goes beyond being on the main road. I think the issue is because I'm on a bend, so it's a real blind spot for cars. And often cars bomb it down this road, particularly early weekend mornings. And I know that from experience because of the number of times that I've almost been mowed down on a Saturday or Sunday morning when I was getting the neighbour's paper. I've just tried to click here into Audacity with the mouse. I've still not started using the new mouse. I've had it now for a week, and I think it's one of those things that I don't want to start using in case it makes no difference. And I'm thinking then that it's a more serious problem. It could be related to the Wi-Fi in the flat. It's a wireless mouse. But it's just really annoying trying to click on Audacity to pause it, to start it, and it makes the editing so bloody difficult. And what are we today? Let's have a look. I'm 13 minutes into a show that has probably not been prepped as well as shows normally are, and it's just been basically 13 minutes of moaning in a discoloured vest. You're listening to Daniel Ruiz Tizon is available, episode 260, Sweating the Small Stuff, currently twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Ways to get in touch, Twitter and Instagram at 1607 West Egg. Facebook.com/DRT is available. Still not functioning my end properly, but that shouldn't affect those of you who follow the show on there. And you can email the show directly at DRT, available at westegg1607.co.uk. Quick shout-outs. Howard Hughes style to Baxmatic for some very useful emails relating to the issues I've had with Strava. Appreciated. An update on the neighbour. I've heard now that she's gone into rehab. So I don't know if that's a care home or it's just a rehabilitation centre. And then rehabilitation for what? To send her back here on her own? That doesn't really work. I heard her relatives on Saturday going up the stairs really noisily, because she had a pile of mail out there, and that's now disappeared. On Saturday evening, just after I'd finally put the calzone conversion, I mean, there was some serious toppings, so much so that I had to remove some of the toppings and stick them in the fridge because it would just have been too much food. So after I chopped up all the ingredients, that's I start timing the pizza, the calzone conversion, 15 minutes, and I go down and put the rubbish out. And I ran into the neighbour, the downstairs neighbour, as I was putting the rubbish out. And I think she'd noted that I was poised to open the bin with a small tissue. In the end, I tried to make out I wasn't really too concerned about the virus, and the hand went bareback on the bin. Kept my distance from her. I was walking backwards to the front door, just trying to, play the whole social distancing thing rather casually. And I noticed she didn't touch the front door after I closed it. I think as she came in and then walked to her door on the ground floor, we certainly, just for a moment, but that's all it will take, we were definitely within less than a metre of each other. I noticed that she didn't touch the front door after I closed it, which is fair enough. It's something that we should all be doing. I did use a tissue on the front door, but on coming back into the flat, I'd used the left hand. And I am concerned about this neighbour coming back. I'm conflicted about it, as I've said on recent shows, from a selfish point of view. My life remains dull, but it is better for not having to do these errands. And I was talking to the Space Daddy about this towards the end of last week, and he was saying that, the situation just illustrates, what many of us are facing at the end. Are we going to have this help available to us when we're this neighbour's age, if we reach that age, which I think the Space Daddy was being optimistic. I certainly don't see how he reaches that age, not when he's, close to 19 stones. But I take his point, and I was telling him that, the reason that I was a bit slow in alerting the other neighbours, breaking down the anal side of that, I just didn't want that contact with other neighbours. When I'm in the flat, I like to be in the flat. I don't want to be hearing anyone at the door. I'm not good with that kind of neighbourly interaction. And I haven't had this familiarity with neighbours since leaving Mayflower. And Mayflower was different because neighbours felt like family there because I'd been there 24 years, so I had no problem with that. But here it's there's so many things to get involved with, meetings, dealing with the housing association, neighbour meetings, all this stuff, of course, pre-pandemic. But also, I wanted to respect the elderly neighbour's desire to be able to stay in her flat. She didn't want external help, but at the same time, she would get a couple of us to run errands for her. And that, I think, that has been a burden, particularly the stress of it, knowing that she's been getting worse, knowing that her decline is accelerating, having that stress of checking 3-4 times a day when I put mail out there that it's been collected, that her Radio Times or OK Magazine was taken in, if I hadn't had a text from her. These things, they are stressful. And in the end, I did the right thing in contacting the neighbours. I could have done it quicker, yes. But also then her GP was contacted. They didn't come round. 111 were called in late at night. They left simply because they'd heard the neighbour. They'd been able to talk to them, even though it was clear something was wrong. They hadn't come to the door. Their voice sounded faint, so she then spent a third night on the floor. And, she's not going to get any better. Rehab, to what extent is that going to fix her? So it is a real concern. And then, breaking it down further, if she does come back, and as I've said, I've been fortunate in many ways to have her as a neighbour. She's a decent woman. She's a nice person. I just think she needs that help, and I don't necessarily want that help to fall exclusively to me because I've got my own problems. If she returns and if there's some sort of carer employed on a daily basis, why can't that carer pick up these magazines and papers? What if I'm still tasked with getting these items? What do I do? Because I don't really want to go back to that. It just makes me feel more tired. There's the whole admin side of it, making sure that I've got enough change for her because she can't get to the bank. This is not what I want from my life. These aren't things that are going to make me feel happier. The sky may be blue, but it doesn't look so blue when I'm doing these kind of things. It just deepens the melancholy, and it does make me think more and more, of course, about the end, as might be the case with you, if you're on your own. It's a real insight. It's something that maybe you think about when you're young, but you can't really feel it. It's a long way off, but that road now at this age is much shorter. and you're starting to think about the things that might make your final days more comfortable. Like launching a commercial podcast when you've already got a podcast. Things like that. You're just trying to find a way to stay afloat, to make your days a bit more comfortable. And you make them more comfortable maybe by working even harder, so that when you reach your 70s and 80s, you might have a bit of money set aside to look after yourself. I'm going to go for a run. I think I'm going to go for a run after I record the show, and then I'll edit it later. Strava went rogue again towards the end of last week. I had a Twitter exchange after that with King of the Shataf, Minty Matt. I think that was on Thursday. And I'm trying to Sherlock Holmes what might be happening with the Strava app because of how awkward it is to get the armband on. The phone ends up on the inside arm. It's the only way to keep the armband on for some reason. So the handset is pushing into my side. I've got minimal movement on the left arm. The Velcro came undone a couple of times. So part of me is thinking, well, this is why the phone may be playing up. This is why the GPS is having problems reading my runs and coming up with routes that I've never run. However, against that is the fact that the phone has never played up when it's ensconced in the inside pocket of my reversed interior shorts. Why would one affect it and the other wouldn't? How can the GPS get inside my shorts, get inside two pairs of shorts, but it can't get inside the armband? It's a strange one. Lunchtime today, I'm going to simply wear the armband for the keys. I'm going to have the keys in there. I'm going to put them in the phone holder. Well, phone holder it is very tight to get the phone in there, but that's where the phone is meant to go. I'm going to put the keys in there because the key slot is just ridiculously small for the keys. I'm going to have to go with the double shorts again for the phone. I've been looking at running shorts in shops and online. There are not many running shorts that offer sealable pockets or zips. I'm surprised, really. I mean, I certainly think it will be easier, of course, to get a pair of shorts with a zip, just a small pocket for keys. But you have to you have to search. The problem is no shorts are likely to be able to take the weight of a phone. When I put the phone in the back pocket when running in just single shorts, I spend the entire run, despite the shorts being tied very tight, often to the extent that to undo the knot, I have to use a pair of tweezers. I kid you not. The shorts just keep slipping, and it's a really annoying way to run. So either way, I've never quite been able to run properly. The most effective way is being putting the phone inside the shorts and the keys in a tissue down the ankle, and then the ankle gets cut up and got infected 2 or 3 weeks ago to the point where I had to skip a run. So I need to sort this out. I have done an update. I had an email from Strava. Now, I'm not sure whether it's a generic email. I'll find out today if it makes any difference. I think the big test will be when the phone goes back in the armband holder, and I'm not going to try that today because it's going to annoy the hell out of me if I have another run that's been misread by Strava. So they sent me an email. It said, important note, there was recently an update to how GPS records time and your device could be experiencing problems as a result of that change. Please see our article on activity syncing issues and incorrect start times to see how this change may have affected you and what you can do to prevent problems in the future. Then it advised me to install an app from the Play Store. I posted a screenshot of that on the Instagram, and I can't remember what that app even is called now. Let's see if I've got it here. Okay, yeah, I've got it here. So GPS status and toolbox, a Clip Sim app. It's a plugin, I think, for the issues that I'm having. So I installed that. It told me to go into manage a GPS state and click on reset, and then to select menu tools, manage a GPS state, and then download. So I've done all that, and I'll see what happens today. Aside from the phone not working in the armband, I just felt my neck click there. I'm not sure if you'll hear that on the show. It is a really stiff neck. What was I saying? Okay, aside from the phone not working in the armband, I don't understand why these armbands use Velcro, because a proper belt strap with a buckle, I don't care if it's more expensive, I'd pay the money for it. but a proper belt strap would work better. Velcro is unreliable on the arm. Wearing Velcro on shoes as a kid because you don't learn how to do your shoelaces until you're in your teens. There's nothing wrong with that. It's effective. But Velcro on an armband, I just don't think it really works, especially, in the summer when you're sweating. Sure, introducing a proper belt, incorporating it into an armband design, visually it's going to have a lot in common with a heroin user, but it's going to offer you far more security. If I was a designer, this is the kind of thing that I'd be working on, I think, these small things. The armband, and I think I'd also be working on silent flushing toilets. For that, I suppose that would be straying into engineering territory. Silent flushing toilets and missing time for anyone that might be in the flat when you're in the loo. You get these people who claim to have been abducted by aliens and their experiences, whether you think they're genuine or whether you think they're simply deluded. This missing time thing always features. It's a pattern. They have no recollection of what happened in a particular period of time. Something like that I'm thinking of, something like that when you're using the loo, you've taken longer than a minute, you might have a new love interest in the house or flat, you're not comfortable with each other yet, you want to retain some of that mystery. Missing time, that's what you need, that's the solution. You finish in the loo, you return to the new partner. As far as they're concerned, you've only been gone 30 seconds. That's probably more magic than engineering. I think you're probably looking at magic there. Anyway, I've uploaded the plugin. Hopefully it works, and this particular episode won't need an addendum. What it might need is quite a bit of editing. Again, I don't know what's going on with the mouse. I don't know what's going on with Audacity today. I've stopped it a couple of times. Visually, it's looking very different. This happened to me last week as well. I've saved it. I've closed it down, I've started it up again, and I've still got a very different looking screen, which is all the more reason to start using something else to do these shows. It is Monday. It feels like a Monday. There is no other day of the week that feels like this. Daniel Ruiz Tizon is available, episode 260, if you're still with me. Ways to support the show, as always, you've got the Amazon link at danielruiztizon.com. You click on that, takes you through to Amazon. Amazon recognizes you've come through the Amazon link on my website and kicks back a small percentage of your purchase back to my work at no extra cost to you. That's a very effective way of supporting this work. You've got PayPal and Coffee.com links too at danielruiztizon.com if you want to make a donation, a one-off donation. And if you're not a patron, when you make a donation, then you get the latest Patreon exclusive episode we transferred to you. Most importantly, though, the best way to support this work, you've got the iTunes reviews. That's going to take 30 seconds of your time, really. 30 seconds of your time. If you enjoy the show, give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really does help the show engage with a wider audience, all vital to the growth of a show. Though, of course, you'd think after 8 or 9 years, a show would have grown by now. Maybe it's just not going to happen, but I will keep asking. The most important, the best way, the most direct way to support this work is via the Patron page. It's just £6 a month, and you're getting nearly 2 hours of content at the moment every week. Patreon.com/DRT available. There's also a second tier, an introductory tier for those of you unsure about committing to supporting the show. Everyone in the UK, EU, and US can now pledge in their local currency of euros, British pounds, or US dollars. That's a new thing that's come in this month. And this will help prevent you paying extra conversion fees from your bank card when pledging in a currency that's not your own. Patrons say they're working on additional currencies, and the cost of converting those currency conversions now passes on to the creator. I'm fine with that. As long as the show grows, I'm fine with that. So patreon.com/DRT available. Sign up there for a different kind of podcast. Join the 17 who are keeping this show alive. Looking back at the weekend, I rested quite a bit. Dozed off without quite making it to a cat nap. Didn't read as much as I would like to have read. I just felt very lazy, too lazy to not attempt my third pandemic cut. I know from experience now that takes about 90 minutes. It's messy as well. You've got to clear all the hair up afterwards. I was just too lazy for that. I'll certainly need to do it, I think, by this weekend. The hair was looking rubbish last week. It's looking even worse today. Action man hair. Spent much of the weekend brushing the beard and especially stroking it, which is really annoying, but I can't stop myself from doing it, usually with the left hand. Might have to wear some cricket or American football helmet with the, that grill to stave off the beard rubbing, because it is really annoying, rubbing it, stroking it, shaping it, a lot of shaping, a lot of twiddling it. It's replaced the mullet twiddling, I suppose, but if I don't break this habit, the stroking habit, then I might just have to lose it, because it is an uncomfortable habit, but it's just one that right now I can't shake. I had another weird dream on Saturday. This dream actually came in my proper sleep, and as I'm able to sleep in a bit now with the neighbour not here, maybe that extra couple of hours is leading to these dreams. Maybe that's why I'm not necessarily automatically catnapping now when I go and lie down with a book. So I'm obviously a morning dreamer these days, I think, because that's when these dreams are happening. Saturday morning, I had a dream that seemed to feature many of the people I've lost. They all seemed to make an appearance in this dream. It was like one of those ensemble star-studded 70s disaster films, the Tower and Inferno. I'm thinking along those lines, with each star getting a few lines, and the number of dead people in that dream who spoke to me. I lost track of it. One of them as well was one of my dad's brothers, who I only met 2 or 3 times. Even he had a few lines. I had a note from my dad in the dream, and the note had these distinctive flourishes of his. All the loops, all the flourishes were there. Very distinctive writing. Distinctive, not in a good way, not in a bad way, just distinctive. Very unusual writing that he had. It's actually the anniversary of his passing today, which is always weird because he passed away so soon after my mum. I think in many ways his passing was fairly easy for me because of that, because of how traumatic and sudden my mum's loss had been. I think I've even now always overlooked my dad's passing. It was far less traumatic, even though it was a very strange event. And I suppose it was a strange event because of how long it took to find out what had happened. And also, I'd spent a couple of years trying to adjust to what had been a normal, uneventful life. Things kind of going to plan. And suddenly I had this very traumatic event, which, many of us will have, the sudden loss of a parent, no time to say goodbye. And it takes a long time to get your head around something like that, which remains the biggest moment of my life. For you might have children, and, having your kids coming into this life, understandably, that will probably be the biggest moment of your life. I don't have kids. The biggest moment of my life, unfortunately, for me, has been that moment that Friday afternoon when I walked into the front room and found my mum there lifeless, so trying to get to grips with that, trying to get to grips with something that I knew right away was going to mark me for life. It meant that when my dad disappeared, I couldn't really, I don't know, it just didn't feel as big as it was, as big as it should have been. And, by then I was on my first dose of happy pills, which did make me unusually upbeat about things, made me very hyper. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I travelled quite a bit that year including out of Europe. So I was really going outside of my comfort zone, and I wasn't getting fazed by things. And almost certainly those chemicals affected how I dealt with my dad's disappearance. I didn't really get my act together in terms of looking for him. I had to be chased by my aunt and by my sibling to do those things. It was almost disrespectful on my part, but in my defense, I think it was a combination of his passing being overshadowed massively by losing my mum, and the pills too, and their impact on me. One thing, I've never been able to imagine my dad having passed away first. It never seems to me like it could have happened that way. I think that would have been a very difficult situation, because I'm not sure how my mum would have played that, given how much my dad had hurt her. Would she have been able to relegate that, push that to one side, to be there for her kids to deal with this loss? Would she have gone along to the funeral, knowing my dad's other love interest was most likely going to be there? I don't know. I don't think things could have happened any other way other than the way they happened. Obviously, I'm going to go running today. Hopefully, I won't emulate the way that my dad passed away, which was while out on a run today on the anniversary of his passing. That would be an incredible way to go to match that. I'm thinking right now how he ran with his keys. I think he might have ran with his keys in his hands, if I remember rightly. So there would have been a bunched fist, because I think his summer shorts, actually, he did have a pair of very indecent short shorts, athletic running shorts that might have had a pocket. So that might have been his look in the summer. I think in the winter he would wear this red tracksuit. There were no zips on it, so I think he would have had his keys in his hand, would have had his watch. When he was still living with us before his strange move in late 91 to the bedsit downstairs, I think all he would have with him was his watch when he went out running, and whenever he got back to Mayflower, he'd call out. Our bell never worked by then, and we'd chuck keys down or go down and open up for him. I made one attempt on trying to fix that bell with Lopez. We bought loads of cable, we bought a different bell, and I don't think we were able to do it. And I remember our downstairs neighbour helped us with that. It was a really long day, and we did a rotten job with it. The reason that we were never massively keen on fixing the bell was that our bell, the bottom bell on the right, was the only white coloured bell. So I think that often people, and it's the same problem here, on the bottom bell here, so any deliveries turn up, they always ring this bell first. In the case of Mayflower, I think the fact it was the only white bell meant that maybe some people thought that indicated that was where the landlord lived. Ring that bell, that's the person to speak to. So our bell was constantly being rung at all hours. And eventually, when the batteries died, I don't think we ever fixed it for the last 10 years, which meant, and it's strange given how low key I am, that, if my mum or dad came and they needed the keys for whatever reason, they'd call out my name. Any friends came over, they would call out my name from the street. Lopez, I remember he'd have this little whistle, which I would hear from the back of the bedsit. But it's strange now, because I'd hate to have my name called out in the street now, the person that I am, the person that I came to be. But, I was a bit more relaxed in my younger days. So I suppose it bothered me less. I think when my dad was with us, I'm trying to remember this, whenever he got back from an evening run, I remember Friday nights he'd always go for a run, because of course a lot of his evenings were taken up with the evening classes at Vauxhall College, later to become Lambeth College, that he went to for 18 consecutive years. So he'd go running on the Fridays, we'd chuck keys down or go down and open up for him. I'm very vague memories of that, of him calling out someone's name to get the keys thrown down. My mum would be running a bath for him. Basically, it was all hands on deck for his run. He was the special one. You would be involved in his run, whether it was throwing the keys down to him, whether it was running his bath, whether it was making his meal, his late meal after a run, or whether you were the person who had to hear him brag about his run in those days before you could brag via the Strava app. We were all drawn into his world of running that so obsessed him. So, yeah, always a strange day today, because I can't actually remember the day that we finally got the news. I remember weeks had elapsed, and I remember it was a Friday that the news came through, and it was September, and I don't think I'd reported him missing to the police, possibly for a couple of weeks. I mean, I really had to be pushed to do that. I knew at the back of my mind that something was very wrong. I was just very slow and very reluctant to engage with that. We weren't talking by then. We'd had the worst argument that we've ever had. All these are things I covered on the old Resonance series, The Letter, which is still available, all 6 episodes, danielruiztizon.com/The Letter. I can't remember what episode is the one that concerns itself with my dad's disappearance. Might be episode 2, Dear Dad, but have a look on there if you'd like to listen to it. So yeah, strange day, and I just hope that I make it back from my run today. I mean, do people actually ever die on the same day as their parents? That would be really, really strange. I'm just recording this extra bit for the show. I think I'm going to stick it in the middle so I don't overdo the addendums. I've moved my day around because I'm running into problems with Audacity to the extent that I've had to join an online forum, which I never do, especially for technical issues. There's definitely something going on with Audacity, and I've never had the issues that I've had with it in recent weeks, particularly the last couple of weeks. Even as I'm recording this directly onto the laptop, the screen that's looking back at me, it's very different to what I normally see, and this isn't even the latest version of Audacity, so I'm waiting to see what happens with regards to my post on the forum. I certainly need to upgrade to something else. Again, it's a case of having the time to do it, but I'm recording this because I've had an email while I've been mired in these editing issues today. I've had an email from Amazon Associates, a really disappointing email, saying Amazon is terminating your affiliate account as well as the operating agreement that governs it. Link below. Why? We reviewed your account as part of our ongoing monitoring of the Amazon affiliate program. During our review, we determined that you are not in compliance with the operating agreement found here. They've inserted a link. The violations include the following: purchases resulting from special links on your site have been for personal use or have been made by your friends, relatives, employees, contractors, or business relations. What's next? You must stop using the content and Amazon marks and promptly remove all links to the Amazon site. Because you are not in compliance with the operating agreement, Amazon will not pay you any outstanding advertising fees. Please be aware that any other related accounts may be closed without payment of any fees. Amazon reserves all other rights and claims. In limited cases, this closure may be appealable. See Appeals Help for more information found here, and there's a link to appeal, which I've obviously done, and I've sent them a very, I wouldn't say earnest, I've just sent a very honest email, because I've not done this. I've not done it knowingly, and where is this money that they claim that I've made? I've had one payment for £35 in the last 4 or 5 months. Every week I plugged the Amazon shopping link on this show to very little effect. That's not a criticism of you guys. It's me saying, where is this money? I have a small circle of contacts, stroke friends, if that. I live alone. I'm a guy from a working class background. The few people that I do know don't really appreciate how difficult it is for creative people to make money. So they're not really going to be aware that they can support my work by doing their Amazon shopping via my link. And if there are people using the Amazon link on my site to buy stuff, well, how else is it supposed to work? I'm not the only podcaster that does this. I didn't come up with this idea on my own. How am I meant to get sales via Amazon if I'm not plugging the link on my site? That's the only thing I think it can be, because I can't even remember when I've told friends buy via my site, apart from the kidding jest last week. But even then, he's not a relative. Your friends can't use your site if they wanted to help your show, your work. So, I mean, this is a blow in many respects in terms of money. Well, I'm not going to miss £35 three times a year, but thinking ahead with theatres closed and the TV work being doors that right now, maybe even for the foreseeable, are closed to me. I'm looking at things like writing another ebook. The first one did badly, but what about a second one? Maybe I can turn things around. I've said to them as well, look, the affiliates thing hasn't been a good thing for me. So why would I jeopardize it? It's not worth my time jeopardizing something that's done very little for me. I've got an ebook there since 2016 that's been a disaster, nothing short of a disaster. So it's not like I've benefited hugely from this. So where is your evidence? And I'm hoping that honest approach and probably their end an email that they'll see as somewhat unusual, but I pride myself on being an honest guy, that my appeal will be successful. But realistically, against these guys, I've got a Facebook account that doesn't even work. Now I've got this. I mean, this is a blow, really, because as a creator at my level, you need to have these little things working for you, because at least it gives you hope. It may not bring you that money for a long time, if at all, but it gives you the hope that on some basis at least you've got a model that financially could potentially work. So I'm just really despondent, and I'll go out for the run once I've edited all of this, and I think I'll need to run more today than I would have 30 minutes ago. I tell you what, it's difficult trying to make this all work. It's just it's one thing after another at times. Creatively, I'm feeling positive about things. I'm thinking on the right lines. Being realistic. Is there a point in writing another TV script right now when I finish this long and drawn out rewrite on the current script? Well, probably not, because where am I going to sell it? What about the theatre? Well, probably not. Am I going to go and sit in a theatre to watch something right now? No, not without a bloody vaccine. And how much manpower is that going to take? There's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm not going to be fast-tracked in that queue because I've got some 10-minute play being put on in central London. So this is a real blow because, one of the things that I had been considering, as I say, is another ebook just to get work out there. Never mind the fact that I've now been kicked off the affiliates program. I'm being told to remove the Amazon link from the website. I'll see what they say in the appeal. But, I've got to be realistic. Is my very honest email to them, is it going to help? I don't know. I just hope the fact that they might see it's an unusual email is an indication of someone being honest with them. Look at the evidence. How much money have I made? Have I made that much money that I could say, well, at least I got away with something? No, what have I got away with? It's not been life-changing money. It's barely been enough to cover a utility bill every now and then. So come on, it makes absolutely no sense. I'd love to see where they got this information from. And I'd love to see where these purchases are coming from. Because, even after Christmas, I was asking, I was plugging that Amazon link. And it wasn't until last month, I think, where I got some more money coming through, which was appreciated. But it's to illustrate how difficult it is to make these models work, particularly at my level. And my level of podcasting, everything I do is small. Really disappointed. I think it's disappointment rather than hurt. I think this will hurt me creatively. It will hurt me to know that this store might be closed, because you're looking at, freelancing, trying to keep your head above water, trying to stay away from the man. Every little thing helps. And this looks like a significant door has been closed, and I really don't know why. It's not a good start to the week. Moving on to this week's Nectar Points update. Just quickly, I've read a story this morning. Morrison's to remove plastic bags for life and trial a paper alternative. The supermarket says that this move follows evidence that reusable plastic bags are being thrown away after one use. I don't know who's doing that, because, you paying, the cheapest you're paying now for a reusable bag for life, which really is about 8 to 10 weeks, I think, is the lifespan of one of those bags. They cost about 15p. I drag mine out forever. I don't know who's earning enough money to be able to just discard these bags after one use. I'm not against the use of paper bags. I certainly make an effort to limit the amount of plastic that I use. I'm fully behind that. The thing about using paper bags, and I'm old enough to remember a time when Sainsbury's would give you paper bags, brown paper bags, is we live in what is still mainly a wet climate. It's the same thing with disposable masks this winter. Now, the masks, okay, that's an extra cost now for most people. That's something that now becomes a regular part of our life. That's a new expenditure along with all the food. If you do it properly, which I don't, you're probably looking at buying disposable masks maybe once or twice a month. What happens in the rain when we've got another long wet winter ahead? We're going to be going through those masks even quicker, so the costs are going to spike. It's the same with the paper bags. It's like a lot of these things with London. They talk about how to fix London, and very rarely is anything geared towards the pedestrian. It's always, drivers, cyclists, a lot of onus on making things, better for cyclists. Not everyone wants to get on a bike. I don't. I know I've got no common sense. Would I like to be able to ride a bike given a choice? Yes. Very healthy. Do I think that everyone riding a bike in London should be riding a bike in London? No, absolutely not. I think they should be subject to having to pass some sort of test, because there are so many crap cyclists out there now. There are as many crap cyclists as bad drivers. But I think pedestrians are often overlooked in what happens in this city. And, I walk back from the shops. I'm going to be walking back from the shops in the winter when it's going to be raining. So what kind of state are my paper bags going to be in? When I'm buying, say, boxes of All Bran and, porridge and cereal, those cartons are going to be drenched by the time I get back to the flat. So, they need to stop thinking that everyone drives, basically, that everyone's driving to their supermarket or getting on public transport. So it's a good idea. In principle, I'm behind that, but I think that plastic bags should still be an option. The bags for life, not going back to what we had 3 or 4 years ago. Friday, I took a trip to Lidl in Brixton. The Brixton Pistons were in a relatively quiet mood. By the way, I've still not eaten the steak I bought there a couple of weeks ago. It needs to be eaten by tomorrow, wondering whether I should make it tonight. But then I'm thinking, that might make the kitchen smell a bit. I've got the workman with the diminutive coming in tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll just have the steak tomorrow, the 18th of August, which is the expiry date for it. Bargains in Lidl this week, blueberries down to 69p each. So gone from the previous week where I couldn't find any blueberries and bought some raspberries, which were very... No, I bought blackberries. I don't like raspberries. Bought blackberries, which were very expensive. Expensive by my standards. There's the throat going. So I bought 2 lots of blueberries, 69p each. There were 4 young kids who were quite annoying, badly behaved. But, you see these things and you remind yourself that... Really, were you better behaved as a kid going around, the Stockwell Sainsbury's, the old Stockwell store in the, late 70s and 80s with your mum? Were you really better behaved? Actually, I'm thinking about it now. I don't think I can remember my dad ever going to that old Sainsbury's. Old school, in those days, the guys would just leave everything to the women. We do live in better times. Let's say that, and let's stop it now so I'm not coming across as some annoying liberal. But yes, these kids were annoying, but I remember the amount of times I played up in Sainsbury's as a kid, just making things difficult for my mum, and my sibling was probably even more difficult. My mum had to do that thing that I frown on now when I see kids doing it, but my mum always did it with us, whereby, we'd get crisps that would be paid for at the end after they'd be finished. So to keep us quiet, we'd be walking through the store eating, which I think visually is really ugly. But, my mum did it with us. Plenty of mums do it with their kids now, and dads. It's good to, when you're annoyed by something now and you think, well, I wasn't like that when I was a kid. Well, the chances are you were. Kids are kids. We have to accept that. Henry and another of the Pistons, they were certainly getting irked by the kids. I heard them moaning in the, I don't know, whatever you call it, aisle. On the one side it's got the 4 breaded chicken steaks for £1.69, which I picked up again on Friday. And on the other side, you've got things like weighing scales, gardening gloves, trainers. I mean, who gets trainers in Lidl? Seriously. So I don't know what they would call that aisle. It's a completely unique aisle. Who thinks, yeah, let me get the breaded chicken steaks, and now I'm going to buy some, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to buy some weighing scales. I made the mistake of buying 4 small bananas in Lidl. Well, it wasn't a mistake at the time because the weather had turned and the weather is better now, but they have spoiled rather quickly. I'm glad they're small bananas. I've had one just before recording today. Hopefully it'll give me some energy for the run as well. But the main reason for eating it before lunch was simply I can see that they're spoiling and spotting. Prior to Lidl on Friday, I'd gone into the Tesco. I needed to buy an A6 notebook, bought one for £1.50. Also found some Tesco Vapo Rub for £1.30. Sainsbury's used to do their own one, which they seem to have stopped, because even the 9 Elms, the monster size Sainsbury's, doesn't do it now. So, buying that Vapo Rub for £1.30, I saved a lot of money, because Vicks Vapo Rub is £4 and it's just too strong for me. I really don't. Thank you, Mr. Driver. Let me just switch the light on as I give you the actual points now. Mixed bag of a show, really, today. I have struggled to put this together, I have to say. Okay, Sainsbury's on the Thursday. My opening balance was 104 points. Remember, I'd lost 3 points after getting refunded on the Nivea face cream or moisturising cream that I'd been overcharged for last week. So opening balance of 104, bought 6 pints of semi-skimmed. At one point at the weekend I was sitting on 14 pints of semi-skimmed, like the world was going to end. I bought another thin and spicy chicken pizza, which I converted one of its predecessors to the calzone on Saturday. I think I mentioned this already earlier on the show, and it was weighing quite a bit, so I had to take great care placing it into the oven. Bought some hot sauce, which is probably my most extravagant purchase every few months. That's £3. It's very pricey. Bought some antibacterial wipes, 2 lots of beans, 30p each. Sainsbury's own beans, Newgate beans, still missing from Lidl. I bought some washing up liquid as well, 35p. Some talcum powder, 200 grams, £1.50. Loose baking potato, I think it was just a one, 43p. A single orange, 90p. I've lost another receipt because I realised now that this was my second trip to Sainsbury's last week. Right, I'm just trying to see where the other, okay, it might be this one. No, that's for episode 248. Okay, let me tell you, I'm not even speaking into the mic right now. One thing I did buy, I think it was £3 or £3.50. I bought some decaf gold blend. Where did I get it from? No, that was, I can't remember now. That might have been Tesco. Might have been Sainsbury's. Best laid plans and all that, etc., etc. Oh, I don't know where it is. I think I paid £3 or £3.50 for some decaf Nescafe Gold Blend. No, it's not that either. And yeah, I just needed to bring it in because I think I've got better, more discipline, trying to break that habit of drinking coffee late at night. But just in case I feel the urge to have a coffee, I felt I needed to have the decaf in, and I'm even drinking some of it during the day. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I can't remember how many Nectar points that gave me. I think it would have given me around 3 points. And it's very precise on the tin. It says 83 mugs. No, it wasn't a tin, actually. It was one of those refills. It said 83 mugs. And I wonder why they settled on 83 rather than, a round figure of 80 or 85. That was just the pedant in me was thinking about that. Anyway, where was I? Always confused with this stuff. That's from June. So I'd gone in there with the points balance of 104. I earned 13 points on an expenditure of £13.13. And my new points balance is 117, worth just 58p. That is so strange. That just feels really, really tight, the whole new Nectar point system. And I'm guessing that it's down to the pandemic right now. They don't actually spew out any Nectar point vouchers at the end of your purchase. I wonder how people like the Nectar Points Leviathan, Paul S. Davis, is dealing with not getting those voucher opportunities in the shops. Maybe they mail out offers to people now. That's maybe what they do. I think that's what they do with my aunt. It's not what they're doing with me. I know that. And that is it. That is the end of this week's regular show. I'd aimed for a shorter show. I'm looking at the running time now, and it's about 55 minutes. And I'm thinking, well, what the hell did I talk about? You might have just listened to the show, and you might be wondering, well, what the hell was this show all about this week? I apologise for that. Patreon listeners, you'll get your weekly bonus edition, episode 261. That's out on Thursday. Regular listeners, if you want to join them, do remember you can now sign up in your own currency at patreon.com/DRT available. 2 tiers, £6 or £3 are available. Thank you all for listening. If you're not joining us on Thursday, I'm back next Monday with episode 262. Get those shoulders back. Keep on walking towards the sun. Wash those hands. I'm Daniel Ruiz Tizon, and this start of the week I have been available.